It was a game that you wish went differently if you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. Obviously, the chance to tie the series up at 1 game apiece, win one of the elusive first 2 games at Madison Square Garden. It looks like now Game 1 was their opportunity, and it fell through their fingertips by blowing that 22-point lead late in Game 1. They came out, had the lead early in Game 2. It was tied at 53 apiece when the Knicks went on an 18-0 run in the early stages of the third quarter. That coincided with the Cavs going 1 of 16 from 3 from the start of the second quarter to the midway point of the third quarter. We can argue about the process. We can argue about the looks. But Game 2 was the Josh Hart game. Jason, Zach G, and Jason, I want you to kick us off on this. When you look back at Game 2, will you remember this as the game the Cavs went ice cold from 3? As the game Josh Hart killed them and they didn't make the necessary adjustments? Or you take it as the game that Evan Mobley, who had 14 points in the first half, took 0 field goal attempts, 0 free throw attempts, and scored the same amount of points as us 4 combined because he did not get the ball nearly enough?
None of that. I will remember this game as the moment that the bill came due for not taking care of business in the first 2 rounds. Because the fact that you went 7 games with Toronto, that should have been over in 5. You should have ended Detroit in 6, and that went 7. That's so much extra wear and tear on your legs and taxing unnecessarily because you were the far better team to Toronto in the first round. And when you stack all of those games on top of each other and you put yourself in a spot that you're playing every other day, they've played, like 15 games in 29 days or something like that, something absurd like that, because they didn't handle their business earlier on. Defense didn't cost them that game last night. They gave 109 points to the Knicks. That's not an outrageous amount in today's NBA. They scored 93 points. You're not going to win playoff games in the NBA scoring 93 points. They scored 93 points because, as you said, they missed shots. The bench gave them nothing last night, absolutely nothing. And if I'm Evan Mobley has to go to the huddle during timeouts and throw a chair, flip a chair, pound a chair, and say, throw me the damn ball. And that is just as much on him as it is on Evan and James. It is inexcusable for him not to get a shot in the second half. But my overall take on this is what happens when you put yourself in this position, when you don't handle your business earlier in the series, and now you've put yourself in the spot. The Knicks put their feet up for a week. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't have had a week off, but you would have had more than a day off in between all of these games. But by not doing what you should have done in the first round against Toronto, by letting Detroit do what they did to you in Game 6 at home and having to go back there for a Game 7, you have now put yourself in this spot to where we're talking about exhaustion at the end of these games. They were clearly out of gas at the end of Game 1. It looked like they ran out of gas again last night, although, again, the bench didn't make shots first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, or fourth quarter. So we'll talk about the defense. We'll talk about Josh Hart. We'll talk about all that. I'm telling you, the defense did not cost them the game last night. The offense did. You can't score 93 points in a game and win.
Real quick on the rest part. Jason, had they won Game 6 against Detroit, had they beaten Detroit in 6 like we all thought they should have after their comeback in Game 5, they would have played Sunday.
Yeah.
They would have played Tuesday, and then they would have had Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off before Game 3 on Saturday. The difference in losing Game 6 and having to go Game 7 against Detroit cost them 3 days of rest between Game 2 and Game 3, and you're seeing it right now play out in front of your eyes.
They had chances, and they still do, but I think the heavy legs are a part of it. But the guys got to make shots, right? The bench makes this team. The bench raises this team's ceiling. The bench makes this team fun to watch, right? The bench gives this team options, and when the bench guys are missing wide open shot after wide open shot, we all love Sam Merrill. But in the Eastern Conference Finals, those are not bonus shots. Those are necessary shots when they're wide open. And the Cavs' percentage and the Cavs' overall bench scoring and contribution has just not been good enough. And in Game 1, Dean Wade was there. He was the 20% Dean Wade that you see contributing at both ends. They didn't cash it in. Last night, he was back to the Dean Wade we see 80% of the time.
Yeah, look, back in college, we used to have military coaches. Shout out to Coach Grove. They came from Air Force. And, during 2 days, I was a young guy coming in, and they said, we would be in camp and we'd be in practice the entire day. And they used to have something called Earn Your Weekend. Earn Your Weekend was, hey, we got to come in early on Friday. We got to come in and lift these weights on Friday. And a matter of fact, we might even actually practice after that on Friday. And I used to be like, these dudes is crazy. What do you mean earn your weekend? Saturday is coming tomorrow. They're like, oh, no. Because if you don't do what you need today, we're just going to run that back again tomorrow. And then you only have Sunday off. So we learned very quickly that in life, what you need is you have to earn the right to put yourself in the best position to win these games. And Jason is correct. When you play around with your food, the first 2 rounds, it comes back to haunt you. And the thing that's the most disappointing part about the Cleveland Cavaliers is the mindset of not understanding where they are supposed to be at. For a team that has been there, like Jared Allen and Mobley and Donovan Mitchell and Kenny Atkinson, and for them to collapse the way they collapsed last year, if you think about it, they said they were tired after the Indiana series. They said it was tired then.
Yep.
They couldn't get the ball up court because they had dead legs. So what did you do all offseason to prepare yourself to get to another level? And it just seems like in those first 2 series, I believe Toronto had more energy. I believe Detroit, for the most part, had more energy. New York was rested. And the Cavs don't know how to finish. Then when you do get a golden opportunity, because we talked about it the other day, is the only way you can minimize that a little bit is if New York is going to have some days off, you're going to need to come out and steal one because they may be rusty. You're up 23 points, and then you blow a 23-point lead, and now they're playing with house money.
That's right.
So you're looking around and you're saying to the Cavs, and the most frustrating thing about it is it's the messaging. The message, the desperation isn't there. And I always say, why is it a bad thing? Sometimes in life you should panic.
Yeah.
If somebody is sick and they need to get to the hospital in about 3 to 5 minutes, you might want to panic. Not go, let me find my button-up shirt and figure out I can get some jeans. Honey, did you see my wallet? No, bro. You might want to light a fire and get it going. This right here, game 3, are you going to be desperate? Kenny, you should be throwing the whole kitchen sink out.
Yeah.
Everything's on the table at this point. So to me, I agree. They didn't lose the game because of defense. I think they lost the game, those 2 games, because it's a microcosm of their mentality the entire playoff series.
And now they're facing a team that hasn't lost in 3 weeks and is walking around like it, right? The Knicks are laughing at them.
Right.
The Knicks are the more confident team. The Knicks have all the momentum. They have every advantage in the standings, in the momentum, in the rest, and everything. And you got to find a way to make shots. You got to find a way to flip this thing fast because, right, there's no more, okay, this happened. Like, they have to win these 2 at home to have any chance at all. And even then, you're still probably going to be lamenting what happened in game 1.
Jason, to his point, the Knicks have now won games on the road at Philly. They've won games in Atlanta. They're not afraid to come in here and play and win in Cleveland. And they've had a traditionally good record and a good track record of success in Cleveland.
The Knicks are a very good team. You've seen that the last 2 games. The way they came back in game 1, the way they handled their business last night. They're a good team with a lot of options on the offensive end. You can't take everything away, and we'll get into it a little bit. But the Cavs changed their approach last night. They got to where they wanted to get, and Josh Hart made shots. So you tip your cap to him, and they did what they're supposed to do. So yeah, they're a road-tested team. They're going to come to Cleveland. The Cavs are going to be better at home. They historically play better at home. They score more at home. The bench, we know the story. Bench role players play better at home. But that's not the issue. The issue is they got to find a way to win one at the Garden. I mean, right now the issue is you got to win 2 at home, obviously, but you're going to have to get one of these at some point at the Garden, and you let game 1 slip through your fingers. So, I said yesterday the series isn't over yet. I still believe the series isn't over yet, but it will be if they lose game 3. So game 3 is about as close to a must-win without actually being a must-win as you can get.
Kenny talked about post-game, trusting the process, believing in the process. And Jason, I could not agree with you more that the offense is what did them dirty last night.
Yeah.
They got good looks. They just didn't make good looks, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the defensive process, the Cavs came into last night's game saying, we're going to let Josh Hart be the one to beat us. And in the game 1 loss, the Knicks actually took Josh Hart off the court late. They put Landry Shamet in to give them more spacing, and that's how they ended up making the comeback. Last night, they allowed Josh Hart to get wide open. And Steve, if you want to play the Josh Hart highlights, it's 491. You can see on those first couple of threes, there's not a defender in sight. I understand that sometimes you're tied to the defensive process and the game plan, but after a guy like Josh Hart, who, by the way, is not a Sart Thompson. Josh Hart shot 41% from 3 in the regular season. He is the worst of the Knicks starters from the three-point line. I get he's the guy you sag off. Alex Caruso, by the way, the Spurs did the same strategy against the Thunder in game 1. Caruso hit a game-high 9 threes. So this happens. I get it happens. But after 3 or 4 go in, I think you have to adjust the process a little bit. You can't be so tied to the process that when the results in front of your eyes are telling you something different, you don't tweak it. And you're not going to run out at Josh Hart like he's Steph Curry, but maybe you give him some kind of defensive pressure, change the look up a little bit just to get out of his comfort zone. I don't think the offensive process did the Cavs dirty yesterday. They got good looks. They just have to make shots. But I didn't like the fact that they never adjusted their defensive process, particularly when it came to guarding Josh Hart.
Well, I hear you, and I don't totally disagree with that. But, I mean, how many times do we sit here and say, don't let the best player beat you? Well, that's what they did. Brunson beat them with assists, and I think he set a career high in assists last night.
14 playoff career high.
But the Cavs very intently said, we are not going to let Jalen Brunson do to us what he did to us in Game 1, and they didn't. So we sit up here all the time and say, we're not going to let the best player beat us. We're going to make somebody else beat us, and if they do, then you tip your cap to them. That's exactly what happened. They executed the plan that they wanted. They left the shooter open they wanted to leave open, and he made the shots. Now, you can adjust off of that, and you can roll coverages toward Josh Hart, and then Jalen Brunson's going to kill you, and then we're going to come in here and kill you. How could you leave Jalen Brunson open? So sometimes you just have to say the better team won, and the Knicks were the better team with better offensive threats. The Cavs followed the plan that they put in place, and the Knicks took advantage of it, and the guy that they wanted to beat him, beat him.
I look at some of these shots, and I can agree that, yeah, hey, listen, let's load the coverage to some of these other guys, but I believe there's a happy medium somewhere. Hey, we're going to make him hit shots, but we also don't want a professional shooter who shoots 41%, who's not, like you said, he's not Thompson. Maybe we can get a half a contest, or maybe he's not shooting layup line threes. Like, give me something in the middle. I think, too, I'll give this to Ty Lue. I think Ty Lue back in, I keep referencing this, but I thought that when he was playing the Golden State Warriors, and you go back and watch that, because they had Steph Curry, Clay and Draymond and all those guys, the Cavs switched their coverages every other time down court. Sometimes they would ice the pick and roll. Sometimes they would hedge and get back. Sometimes they would play drop coverage. Sometimes they would fight over the screen. Like, they basically switched it every 2 times. I don't know if the Cavs have that defensive IQ and guys are smart enough as team defenders to be able to switch looks every other time down court. But for offensive teams that are as good as the Knicks, who have guys that can all handle from Bridges to Cat to Brunson, and they all have a skill set where Anunoby's shooting the ball crazy right now, I don't know if you got a team like that is able to do all those things, that you can have one game plan. You might have to have 3 or 4. You might have to, this time down court, we're going to give you this. Next time, we're going to give you this. And maybe that slows them a little bit so you can give them, take a little time to figure out. But after he had figured out, like, okay, y'all gonna let me shoot. When you let shooters get confidence, especially in the playoffs, it's downhill from there.
It was the third quarter that did him in. Josh Hart in the first quarter was 0 for 3 from 3. Yeah. The plan worked. He was 2 for 7 at halftime. The plan worked. So you're not going to go away from it at the half. You feel pretty good about where you're at the half. Mm-hmm. They were down a couple, I think, tied at early third quarter.
It was 53-53 a minute into the third.
So you feel pretty good about where you're at with things. And then I think Josh hit 3 in the third quarter, got him going a little bit, and then I don't think he made any in the fourth. So it was really the third quarter. So again, like, I see why they say they followed the process and they believed in it, because it worked in the first half, and I understand it's a 4-quarter game.
Yeah.
But when you're 53-53 early in the third quarter and then he makes 3 in a row, okay, well, he did his job, but then he didn't make any in the fourth. So it's like that little burst to where he made the shots. Otherwise, it worked.
Well, that was the whole, and Zach, sorry to cut you off, but that was the whole part of the game where everything went awry for the Cavs. And
yeah.
While, Zach, you're talking, I'm going to play the stretch that while Josh Hart hit those 3 threes, this is during the same stretch that the Cavs went 1 of 16 from 3. And, Zach, while you're going, we're going to play all the misses. Watch the misses. I count 13 out of 17 really good looks, including the Strus one at the end, which ended their 1 of 16 drought. These are all good looks from 3 that, if you make a few of these, the game feels totally different.
You're not talking about Josh Hart's 3 for 3 in the third quarter if you make 3 or 4 more of those.
Sorry, Mike, I watched him once. I don't want to watch him. Right. No, but good timing. Like, look, the Cavs did not build this roster to go win this game 84-83.
Right.
The Cavs built this roster to match them, to outscore them. Like, you're going to make some. And you're right, Jason. The first quarter, the strategy was apparent, and Josh Hart missed, and he missed badly. When he got hot, and even before that, they needed to make, and they just didn't do enough. So it's not one thing. There's not one answer. But the bottom line is, if the Cavs aren't making shots, and they scored, 20 points in the first 6 minutes, and then Evan Mobley had 10 of those, and then Evan Mobley had 4 points the rest of the game, that's not good enough. Sam Merrill having 5 wide open looks and missing all 5 of them, simply not good enough.
My thing is, McNuggets, listen, I'm not blaming specifically the coach, the entire coach for everything that goes wrong, because obviously James Harden was getting cooked. He has not played. He's played horrible in this series. Can't buy a shot. Sam Merrill couldn't buy a shot. Nobody could buy a shot yesterday. And we'll get to Donovan. Donovan looks like, I don't know. First and foremost, it doesn't look like he has the intensity. Does not look like he is out there playing at the same speed level that he usually does. I thought Legler and RJ did a real good job of saying, hey, man, this guy is not getting all the way to the basket. He's pulling up on the floater, and he's usually to the lane, 2 more steps, and I'm finishing over people. And so that's been a theme in the playoffs for Donovan, right? But I also will say, as Kenny Atkinson, Kenny, if you see that Evan Mobley is out here cooking, Cat cannot guard him. Cat is not a defender that is physical enough to guard him. And you see what Mobley is able to do. I thought Mobley did a good job of hitting a couple of threes early and then not settling for threes when they dared him to take it. Getting to the basket, being aggressive. If you look at the stat sheet, everybody get them. You come in and sit down. The game is close at halftime. And you're like, well, doggone it. Evan Mobley got 14 and he's cooking. Look at these points in the paint. Guess what? You got to come out and if Donovan ain't going to do it, if James Harden ain't going to do it, give me a timeout so we can figure out, hey, listen, we're going to run this play just for Mobley. We're going to ISO him here. We're going to get him the ball. If the guards aren't doing it in the flow of things, you have to call the play for him. You have control over that. I just didn't understand. He was the player who looked like they actually had it going for the Cavs early. And actually, Jared Allen was playing very well. The bigs were rebounding. They had so many offensive rebounds. And I thought we talked about the matchup before, McNuggets. Who has the matchup? Would you take Cat and Mitchell Robinson, or you got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen? And in that game, in the first game, you saw those guys outplay them consistently. So why not go back to it? Why not emphasize that? I just think they dropped the ball on that a little bit because I think they don't put enough pressure on the Knicks.
Yet, Kenny Atkinson said, take the singles, make the open pass. The Knicks were trying to take away the pocket pass on the pick and roll. That led to a bunch of open threes, but at the end of the day, 0 field goal attempts for Evan Mobley in the second half is a failure as an organization. It's on Evan to be more demonstrative and demand the basketball. It's on the guards to emphasize feeding the bigs the basketball. It's on the coaching staff to remind the players on the court to get your biggest advantage on the court, the basketball. And they didn't do it nearly enough last night, and that's why they're staring at an 0-2 hole for the second straight series.
Well, you look at the Cavs. We'll see what they do coming up this weekend. But the team in the city that's doing well right now, they're cooking right now, is the Guardians right now. They sweep the Detroit Tigers, and we looked to get them dudes back in the game. Hey, listen, is this league crazy? Is this going to be something that you expect it to go throughout the rest of the first half of the season? We'll come back and talk Guardians right here on UCSS.